working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles and you're watching ASEAN in Focus. We're coming to you live from Manila and Thailand. Hello, Esther.
Hi, Alma, and to all our viewers, I'm Esther Odanga from EBC Thailand Bureau, bringing you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines. A Chicago woman who spent 7 years jailed in Bali for helping kill her mother at a luxury hotel was arrested on Wednesday upon her return from Indonesia, according to the U.S. Justice Department.
Myanmar junta court will this month hear closing arguments in Aung San Suu Kyi's incitement trial, a source said Tuesday, as it begins to wrap up proceedings that could jail the Nobel laureate for decades.
And OFWs in Jordan benefit from the Iglesia Ni Cristo's Worldwide Aid to Humanity event.
And join me as I walk you through the glass bridge in Chonburi, Thailand.
As we explore the famous glass bridge.
First in our news, a Chicago woman who spent 7 years jailed in Bali for helping kill her mother at a luxury hotel was arrested on Wednesday upon her return from Indonesia, according to the U.S. Justice Department. Heather Mack, 26 years old, was taken into custody when she arrived at Chicago's O'Hare Airport after being freed early on good behavior from a Bali prison where she had been sentenced to 10 years for the 2014 murder. She was convicted in 2014 for working with her boyfriend to kill her mother while they were on vacation on the Indonesian island and then stuffing the body into a suitcase that they left in a taxi. Deported from Indonesia, she has been indicted for the same crime in U.S. court on charges of conspiracy to kill in a foreign country, conspiracy to commit foreign murder of a U.S. national, and obstruction, according to the Justice Department. Mack was a pregnant teenager when she, her boyfriend, and a U.S.-based cousin allegedly conspired to kill her Chicago socialite mother, Sheila Von Wies Mack, while on vacation in Bali. The boyfriend, Tommy Schaefer, beat the 62-year-old victim to death with a fruit bowl during an argument at the five-star St. Regis Hotel in the Nusa Dua resort town. According to interviews Mack had regularly fought with her mother, and the two were in a court battle over a $1.6 million inheritance. Schaefer confessed to the killing during his trial, but claimed he was defending himself during an argument with Von Wies Mack, who was unhappy that her daughter was pregnant. Now, during the attack, Mack hid in a bathroom, but later helped Schaefer stuff the body into a suitcase, according to the trial. She was sentenced by an Indonesian court to 10 years in prison, where she gave birth to a daughter. Now, Schaefer, the father of the child, was given an 18-year sentence. Mack's cousin, Ryan Bibbs, pleaded guilty in December 2016 in federal court in Chicago to giving her advice on how to kill Von Wies Mack, according to the U.S. Justice Department. Now, it wasn't clear if Mack, who's now fluent in Indonesian and Balinese, returned to the United States with her daughter. Mack's lawyer had told AFP the young woman didn't want her daughter to be deported and hounded by the U.S. media. But the lawyer also said on Tuesday, before Mack left Bali, that she said she was happy to start a new life in the U.S. with a child.
In other news, UN rights expert on Tuesday condemned as a shameful nadir Cambodia's sentencing of an autistic teenager to 8 months in prison for sending telegram messages that were deemed insulting the government. The son of opposition figure 16-year-old Kak Sovanchai was arrested in late June after posting messages on a private Telegram group and has been detained for more than 4 months. Phnom Penh Municipal Court on Monday sentenced him to 8 months in prison under incitement charges and for insulting public officials. They said, and I quote, "The conviction of a minor with an autism spectrum disorder is a shameful nadir in the authorities' continuing campaign of intimidation and violence against civil society and opposition activists and affiliates." The boy's father, Kak Kompea, is a former member of now-dissolved opposition Cambodian National Rescue Party and has been in jail since June last year. The UN experts said they see the conviction and the conditions imposed on his liberty as very transparent attempt by authorities to prevent his mother from demonstrating for the release of her husband. Kak Kompea is among more than 150 opposition figures facing a closed-door trial for allegedly agitating for the toppling of the ruling party, which is led by Prime Minister Hun Sen.
In another news, the Myanmar Junta Court will this month hear closing arguments in Aung San Suu Kyi's incitement trial, according to a source on Tuesday, as it begins to wrap up proceedings that could jail the Nobel laureate for decades. Former President Win Myint and Myo Ang, a senior leader in Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy NLD party, are co-accused in her incitement trial, which heard its last testimony from the defense on Tuesday, according to a close source to the matter telling AFP. The judge said the next adjournment will be for the final arguments and was set for November 16, the source added. The court will then set a date for sentencing. The charges carry a maximum of 3 years in jail. Suu Kyi faces a raft of other charges, from illegally importing walkie-talkies to sedition, and faces decades in jail if found guilty on all counts. On Friday, Win Myint, a former NLD parliamentarian and close aide of Suu Kyi, was handed 20 years in jail for treason, the first high-ranking member of the party to be jailed by a junta court.
Authorities nabbed a customs appraiser and examiner for alleged extortion in Manila, the Bureau of Customs, or BOC, reported on Wednesday. In a statement, the Bureau identified the suspects as appraiser Sosimo E. Bello and examiner Salvador V. Celetaria, who are both assigned at the Port of Manila during an entrapment operation at a restaurant in Ermita on Tuesday. Commissioner Ray Leonardo Guerrero immediately directed an entrapment operation against the two following a report by an importer that they were demanding 300,000 pesos in exchange for the release of their shipment. The operation was conducted at the agreed meeting place of two suspects and the importer, who was accompanied by National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI, undercover agent. Within the plain view of NBI and BOC agents, a white envelope was handed by the complainant to Bello and Celetaria, prompting the operatives to arrest them. The seized envelope contained marked money worth 30,000 pesos. Bello and Celetaria are temporarily detained at the NBI headquarters in Manila and will be subjected to inquest proceedings. The BOC is also preparing criminal and administrative charges against them.
Meanwhile, rights groups in Kuala Lumpur submitted a memorandum to Parliament in protest at the impending execution for drug trafficking of a Malaysian man with intellectual disabilities in Singapore. Take a look.
This is not fair for the family. We haven't seen them for more than 2 years, and we receive a news that they are starting the execution. This is really not fair, and the agony is there. We won't be able to forget it forever in our life, especially during this Deepawali.
A man who is not fit to be executed at any standard of the international law at all. Singapore is committing a grave crime against humanity if it proceeds with this execution. So we are here to call on the Malaysian government to do what it can whatever is within its powers to put pressure on the Singapore government to halt this execution.
So we implore the Malaysian government to do what they can to talk to their diplomatic counterpart, to talk to the Singapore government, to ask them to commute the sentence to life imprisonment.
According to the Today online site, Nagentran, who is a Malaysian, was convicted and given the death penalty in November of 2010 for importing 42.72 grams of heroin a year before. He had first appealed to be resentenced under amendments to the Misuse of Drugs Act that were passed in 2012. The amendments allow a court to sentence a drug offender to life imprisonment instead of death if he was merely a courier, on the condition that the public prosecutor issues the offender a certificate of substantive assistance for helping the Central Narcotics Bureau disrupt drug trafficking activity. Nagentran then lodged a second appeal for a judicial review into the public prosecutor's decision not to issue him a certificate of substantive assistance. The High Court dismissed both applications, and in 2019, the Court of Appeal dismissed both of Nagentran's appeals against the High Court's decision. But the MHA said his petition to the President for clemency was unsuccessful. And the news continues here on ASEAN in Focus. Esther and I will be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Alex Calleja, isang podcaster, YouTuber, writer, director, at isang stand-up comedian for more than 12 years. Ang sarap maging komedyante sa Pilipinas, no? Dahil paborito ng mga Pinoy, pagsaluan ang mga nakakatawang eksena sa paligid. Pero dahil sa pandemic, ang kulitan, naging online na lang. Naranasan mo na ba to? Ginising ka ng nanay mo para tanungin lang kung anong oras ka gigisingin. Pero masaya talaga pag sabay-sabay tayong nagtatawanan sa mga videos na gaya nito. Ito pa. Ito pa. At ito pa. Kaya naman, heto na ang funniest Nakaball Videos. Ang natatanging show na bubusugin ang buong sambenan sa katatawanan. Ito ang bagong tambayan ng buong pamilya at barkada. Mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes nyo kami makakasama tuwing 4:30 p.m. Dito lang sa Net25. Dito, mapapanood natin ang best comedy videos na hinanap pa namin sa kasuluk-sulukan ng internet. So ano pang hinihintay nyo? Join na sa pinakabago at pinakamasayang afternoon habit ng tawanan at kulitan, ang funniest Nakaball Videos!
Welcome back. Children in the Philippines receive vaccines against COVID-19 as the nation rolls out 12.7 million jobs for young people aged 12 to 17. Take a look.
Now we can probably go out of town, do the usual things that we used to do. Not necessarily the same things, but, somewhere in between those things that we used to do before, like dine out and, stuff like that.
I've always been so scared of this virus. I was afraid that just as soon as I step outside the house, I will just instantly get the virus, and I might get my whole family in danger. So I'm just relieved right now that I'm finally getting vaccinated.
On October 15, the government started the vaccination of children aged 12 to 17 years old with comorbidities. As of November 2, a total of 40,419 minors with comorbidities have received their life-saving shots. The nationwide vaccination for the rest of pediatric population aged 12 to 17 formally started on Wednesday. It has a target population of 12,722,070, of which about 1,272,207 have comorbidities.
Meanwhile, the Philippine government expects the average daily vaccination rate to increase after the long weekend with more COVID-19 doses or vaccines coming in. A health official said the country would need to double its efforts to reach its daily million vaccination target and the goal to fully vaccinate 50% of the target population by December. Let's listen in.
500 jobs per day. Although alam naman natin noong October 31, November 1, medyo nag-slow down. So mga 100 to 200. But the average daily job for the past 7, naka 3.5 million tayo ng 1 week. The past week. Ang gusto nating itaas sa Yusek Rocky ay sa 5 million sana per week if we can strive for 1 million per day. Natin all hands on deck, kailangan tulong-tulong tayo lahat para ma-meet po yung 1 million. Nasa 500, ibig sabihin magdo-double efforts tayo. Kasama na po yung mga pagbakuna ng mga pediatric age groups. So sana makainganyo din ito para yung ibang hindi pa nababakunahan ay magpabakuna na rin.
The daily jabs administered slowed down a bit to 459,876 doses during the last 6 days or 8 days that included the weekend leading to the November 1 as more vaccines arrived, including the state-procured 2.7 million doses of Sputnik V on Tuesday afternoon. And the government is eyeing to inject between 1 and 1.5 million doses daily beginning next week. Overall, the Philippines has received 108,912,460 doses of COVID vaccines, both procured and donated.
Department of Education or DepEd Secretary Leonor Briones on Wednesday said the department has completed the 100 public schools that will participate in the pilot implementation of limited face-to-face classes beginning November 15. Take a look.
Wakas, pagpatuloy na natin ang ating na limited face-to-face tulad ng napag-usapan at instruction ng President. Mag-umpisa tayo with 100 public schools, 20 private schools, at ilang mga international schools na may sarili naman silang mga patakaran. So all set na for November 15. Nabuo na natin yung 100 public schools at binubuo na ngayon ang 20 private schools. At kami naman for our part sa Department of Education, ini-inspect namin ang mga napipiling eskwelahan na kailangan handa yung ating mga facilities, ang social distancing, may tubig, may gamot, malapit tayo sa mga health stations, at saka finally, kailangan na may risk assessment na galing sa Department of Health.
Briones noted the DepEd is still in process of completing the list of 20 private schools to implement the limited in-person classes. The selected private schools will open classes on November 22, a week after the public school starts, since they are still under evaluation. Now, the foreign investors are returning to Bangkok's tourist destinations, the Grand Palace, the Temple of Emerald Buddha, and Po Temple, as Thailand reopened to vaccinated tourists from low-risk countries. Take a look.
Far, our experience is amazing. It's so great. And especially the people are so friendly. They smile every time. I mean, this is something we haven't experienced everywhere. So the first time when we came here, people were so friendly people, so we just enjoy it. So we love every moment, every day in this country.
I've always wanted to come to Thailand. It's a very beautiful country. Get some sun. It's pretty cold in England right now. And I saw that Thailand reopened, and I thought, I've got a bit of time to spare, so why not?
So I've been there before and I like it, and it's also one of the first countries that were open for tourism in a proper way.
Thailand hopes to capitalize on travelers escaping the winter blues in December with several European countries, the United States, and China on the approved list. Tourism accounts for nearly a fifth of economy, and the impact of the pandemic has reverberated across sectors from restaurants to transportation. But authorities expect 10 to 15 million visitors to return next year, with revenues forecast to surpass $30 billion. Industry insiders are less optimistic, however, especially the regional giant China, the source of lion's share of tourists requiring returnees to undergo a strict quarantine program. Thailand is still registering about 10,000 COVID infections a day, while about 40% of population have received 2 vaccine doses. In other news, Dolomite Beach in Manila will remain off limits to people for scheduled rehabilitation work. According to Undersecretary for Policy and Planning and International Affairs, Jonas R. Leones, the closure will allow the agency to finish the pending rehabilitation works. Take a look.
Uunahin po natin ang pagsasaayos ng mga natitirang mga gawain sa Baywalk. Kinakailangan po talaga na walang tao doon dahil may mga materyales at may mga equipment po na nadadaan doon sa lugar ng Dolomite area.
We'll do our best to finish this within the year before the holiday season para ika nga'y mapakinabangan na ng Juan de la Cruz. Yan pong ating Dolomite Beach, no? Again, tingnan natin kung ano yung magiging situation, no? Dahil fragile yung situation natin ngayon with this pandemic.
On October 16, the Manila Baywalk Dolomite Beach reopened to the public but was closed again after 2 weeks amid overcrowding concerns. The Dolomite Beach comprises Phase 1 of Beach Nourishment Project the DENR is undertaking as part of Manila-based rehabilitation. The DENR-led rehabilitation aims to make Manila-based water fit again for contact recreational activities.
Israeli ambassador to the Philippines, Ilan Plus, said that Israel is accepting Filipino and other foreign tourists as long as they are fully vaccinated and their second dose had been administered within the last 6 months. Tourists may travel to Israel individually or as a group, but are advised to check first the specific entry guidelines and requirements before booking their flight and tour packages. The envoy also said travelers will have to present a negative reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction or RT-PCR test result taken 72 hours prior to departure and take another swab upon arrival at the airport. After the test, the tourists will undergo mandatory quarantine until the result is out. Ambassador Plus noted that Israel is only allowing foreigners who had been vaccinated with a jab recognized by the World Health Organization, such as Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, Sinovac, and Sinopharm. Among others, the second dose must be administered within the past 6 months and supported by a vaccination certificate. If the last shot is more than 6 months, he said, you are considered unvaccinated. So either you take the booster and then you can visit, or you can't. Filipinos are allowed visa-free entry to Israel, but the ambassador said they must secure a special entry permit, which had been required from all foreign nationals following the COVID-19 pandemic.
In other news, Brunei will introduce the use of vaccine passports that restrict unvaccinated individuals from accessing public places, the health minister said during a press briefing on Wednesday. Only vaccinated residents will be able to enter their workplaces, restaurants, retail stores, and other public facilities once the country reopens its economy, said Yobdato Seri Setya Dr. Haji Mod Isham Haji Jafar. As part of its transition plan to living with endemic COVID-19, Brunei is expected to gradually lift its 12-week movement curves when 70% of the population has completed their 2-dose regimen. A digital vaccine pass will be issued to fully jabbed residents on the Brew Health mobile app, while those without Brew Health must bring along their yellow-colored vaccination certificates before gaining entry to public venues. The Health Ministry recorded 125 new COVID-19 cases after 7 new clusters were identified on Wednesday. Alma and I will be back after this short break.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Ngayong quarantine, hindi mo na ako lumalabas ng bahay.
Gigi Pre!
Dapat, health is wealth.
Hindi nga pala. Huwag mo makalimutan yung social distancing. Hindi ko na kailangan mo. Sinimiss nga yung lumayo.
Ako yata magkakasait sa joke mo. Tawanan lang, walang ubuhan. Funniest Nakaball Videos!
Ma'am, yung pumasok ng pandemya talaga sobrang dagok. Talaga grabe yung ginawa sa amin. Tapos, sasabihan pa ng sakit ng asawa ko. Ultimo gamot, ma'am. Magkano lang ang gamot? 2, 3. Hindi ko pa mabili. Oh, siguro, pagsubok lang naman to. Hindi naman siguro ibibigay sa akin to kung hindi ko kaya.
Hindi nagsasalita. Naninikip yung dibdib niya. Tapos, pumunta ka na ngayon dito, kuya.
Ano naman? Puro kabiro.
And presence of uniformed personnel to enforce quarantine procedures.
Parang kang superhero, Papa.
Isipin may makakain ka lang. Diba? Sabi nila na lalabas ka. Hindi ka ba nihawa? Sana kung mapaglabas mo. Hindi mo alam po nakakuha na ng sakit. Diba ganun? Ako inisip po. Kasi naman, hindi ako lumabas. Gutom naman kami.
Para sa isang tatay, napakasarap maramdaman na buong-buo ang tiwala ng iyong pamilya. Nasama-sama niyong malalagpasan at mapagtatagumpayan ang anumang hamon ng buhay. Kahit na mabigat na pagsubok ang pinagdadaanan natin, bagong pag-asa at bagong inspirasyon ang ihahatid namin sa inyo.
pinapangarap niya na mapagamot siya. Ma'am, ito na yung katuparan na para mapagamot siya. Ito na yung katuparan na para mapagamot yung misis ko, Sir Eduardo B. Manalo. Maraming salamat po sa naitulong nyo na ibinigay po sa aking pamilya.
Kaya kung kayo ay may kakilala, kaibigan o kamag-anak na nais niyong lingapin ang aming programa, ipadala niyo sa amin ang kanyang kwento. Ako po si Apple David at ito ang Lingap Stories.
How do you find that concept or that area where you gusto ko i-innovate ito?
Sometimes it just clicks. Maraming nag-audition. Tapos pinili. Tapos inayos.
When you say inayos, ayusin mo ang face, pagagandahin mo, ipapa-acting mo.
Hindi ako yung ordinary viewer. When I watch something, parang pinoproduce ko siya palagi.
Best work in terms of ratings and profitability. Is there something really that you can say original talaga? No.
Hindi. Nagawa na yan eh. When you talk to me and ask me to contribute concepts for the platform, how is your branding as a network? What is your personality as a network? What do you want to be? Gusto ko yun kasi challenge yun.
All these in this episode of Open for Business.
Welcome back. Winter season sparked the Iglesia ni Cristo or Church of Christ members in the United Kingdom to give generous donations of winter clothing and care packages. This Aid to Humanity initiative was conducted simultaneously worldwide to extend their help to those in need. Here is Aribel Celestino for the report.
As the daylight hours shorten and the cold winter is fast approaching, this sparked the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ to hold a winter donation drive through an open-door charity event for their local communities and charities. I'm currently in the compound of one of the IC chapels in Birmingham, in the West Midlands of England, witnessing the Aid to Humanity event hosted by the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ. Today's event is a concerted effort of all its members across the UK and Ireland, giving away a great number of winter clothing items, such as coats, jackets, beanies, scarves, and gloves. There are also tote bags that are handed out for free, containing canned and non-perishable food products, as well as essential self-care items such as vitamins, hand sanitizers, soaps, toothbrushes, and other basic necessities of similar kinds. Among the list of guests witnessing this grand event, there are some local councillors who were invited. Representatives from local charities are also here to receive the generous donations by the Iglesia ni Cristo.
I think there's a real need in this community in South Belfast and further afield, and I think the pandemic has uncovered some of the gaps that were there in services, and a lot of people who maybe were struggling before are in even more difficult position at the moment. So it's really important that communities like yours are finding where those people are and meeting some of those gaps. It's really, really important work. I mean, particularly as we come into the colder months, that there are people who for one reason or another are outside a lot more, and we know that there are huge spikes in fuel costs, and a lot of people are very, very anxious about how they're going to keep their homes and themselves warm over the next few months. So this is a really practical initiative to provide people with warm winter coats and with good quality, suitable to that person winter coats, which is really important as well. I'm really glad, as I say, this is a global community in South Belfast, and it's a tight knit community, and people pitching in and helping, including as the Church of Christ are doing. Just thank thank you very much. Please do keep living out your faith and service to the community, and really nice to meet some of your members today and understand a wee bit more about all that you're doing.
It's very hard for somebody to go out there and buy a jacket for the winter weather, whereas they have to wait 3 to 4 weeks just to buy something. You know, with paying bills, with putting food on the table, it's not easy. I mean, some people out there that I spoke to on the doorstep, they've said just to buy a piece of clothing, it will probably take them 6 months to buy a coat. And the fact that you're giving away something like this for free, I think you've actually, you've done them a great favor, and I really appreciate it. And I am actually delighted to see the fact that everybody is literally united here and they're working together to make this happen.
This humanitarian effort is evident in the way the INC members warmly welcomed their fellow men into their compound. Apart from receiving the donated items, there are also refreshments and a short tour inside their chapel, where they hold their worship services to introduce them to the INC faith. Of course, everything is done in a safe and cautious manner, even though COVID-19 restrictions are easing up here in the UK. It has taken INC members many weeks to prepare for this Aid to Humanity event, which is also global in scale. In times of global financial crisis and uncertainties brought about by the ongoing pandemic, this generous act of giving displayed by the Iglesia ni Cristo brings out a positive vibe of community spirit amongst those here today.
Thank you, Church of Christ.
From Birmingham, United Kingdom, I am Arabel Celestino for the Iglesia ni Cristo Worldwide Aid to Humanity special coverage.
Thank you, Arabel. And another Worldwide Aid to Humanity was launched in Tokyo, Japan. We have Tyra Lu for the report.
Thousands of local residents in various places all over Japan have received goodwill bags from the Church of Christ, or Iglesia ni Cristo, as part of the Church Worldwide Aid to Humanity project, where the church organized a week-long humanitarian project in over 10 locations from October 23rd. Here in Tokyo District alone, the Iglesia ni Cristo, led by their district minister, Brother Manny S.V. Benedicto, along with the church evangelical workers and their families, with the cooperation of the church officers and members, has given out a total of 2,240 goodwill bags in 8 different locations around the regions of Kanto, Central Honshu, and Okinawa. These bags contain daily necessities essential under the new normal. Here are the various locations where some of our EBC Japan correspondents have personally witnessed the occasion.
教会からいただいたのも多分うちで初めてなので、多分たくさんの人たちも喜んでいただくと思いますので、本当に感謝してます。
世界中でこのようなことをやっておられるということで、本当にこうなんですかね、いろんな世界中の人々を助けるという行動、これは非常に人間性豊かで素晴らしいと思っております。助ける行動をやっていただけるとありがたいと思っています。どうも手応えで感謝しております。ありがとうございます。
この品々を本当に必要な方へお配りして、皆様への感謝の気持ちということを表していきたいなと思って考えています。
Ang isinasagawa pong ito ng Iglesia ni Cristo na pambuong mundong lingap sa mamamayan ay tunay po na napakahalaga sa mga kaanib sa Iglesia ni Cristo, sapagkat ito po ay pagtupad sa napakahalagang utos ng Diyos na ibigin po natin ang ating kapwa-tao. Kaya nga po sa pangunguna ng aming pinakamamahal na tagapamahalang pangkalahatan, ang kapatid na Eduardo V. Manalo, ang mga kapatid sa buong mundo ay sama-sama na tumutulong sa ating po mga kapwa-tao para po matupad ang napakahalagang utos ng Diyos na ibigin at may pagmalasakit natin ang ating mga kapwa-tao.
From Tokyo, Japan, this is Tyranil Pilyulu for the Worldwide Lingap sa Mamamayan special coverage.
And care packages as part of the World Aid to Humanity event of the Iglesia ni Cristo were brought to the Polo Owa office of Jordan. We have more details from Melody Manda.
The Iglesia ni Cristo members here in Amman, Jordan, joins thousands of locals from different parts of the world in conducting simultaneous worldwide Lingap sa Mamamayan.
The Iglesia ni Cristo members, led by its Christian family organizations in Amman, Jordan, commenced the Lingap sa Mamamayan here in the Philippine Overseas Labor Office, Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, or Polo OWA, on Sunday, 24th of October 2021, part of commemorating the birthday of their beloved Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo.
Brethren from GWS Amman, Jordan, District of Qatar, started the preparation for this big activity through devotional prayers. Brethren are very happy for packing all the goodie bags that we will be sending to Polo OWA for the distressed OFW. We also conducted a survey for us to get the specific number of distressed OFW. To our beloved Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, we would like to extend our deepest gratitude for allowing us to conduct this kind of activity. Thank you so much po, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, and happy birthday po.
A number of 80 bags have been prepared for the distressed Filipinos staying in the labor office containing relief goods. A total of 13 have been listed as recipients of the relief bags, coming from different situations and awaiting their chance to get home amidst the ongoing pandemic. The recipients of the relief bags expressed their thanks to the organizers of the activity as well as the Polo OWA staff.
How long have you been in Polo OWA?
More than 2 months.
Okay. And what can you say about the activities?
This is very useful for all the girls, because all the things that they will give, they know what the girls need. Very essential. So it is very useful for them.
In the part of the Iglesia ni Cristo, being part of these kinds of activities have been always their true mark of being united with the church administration.
From Amman, Jordan, this is Melody Mandak for the special coverage of the Worldwide Aid to Humanity program of the Church of Christ.
And we now go back to Thailand as Esther Odanga walks us through the glass bridge in Chonburi. Esther Odanga reports.
And 50 As Thailand reopens the country to boost its tourism, join me as we explore the famous glass bridge in Sriracha, Thailand, just 2 hours away from the capital city, Bangkok. Let's go! The Glass Sky Bridge is located at Wat Khao Tabek district of Sriracha in Chonburi province. The place has 40 baht or $1.2 admission fee to both Thai national and foreigners. It operates at 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Before getting to the glass walk, you have to cross a bridge and climb up to the hill. Once you reach the top of the hill, there you will see the Glass Sky Bridge that stands 25 meters above the ground level and is 226 meters long. The glass tiles are almost 2 tons thick. That's 50 meters in length and 50 millimeters in width. So So don't be scared and enjoy the scenic view of the hills and breathe the fresh air. And don't forget to take a picture-perfect shot of your glass bridge experience.
ASEAN in focus! So if you want to visit Thailand, don't forget to include Sriracha Glass Bridge on your bucket list if you want fun and adventure. From Thailand, this is Esther Odanga. We live in interesting times.
Was it scary?
No, Alma, it's exciting and fun. Hope you will join me here soon, Alma.
Maybe.
I'll be waiting for you.
Thank you very much, Esther, for keeping me company today. As always, stay safe and have more adventures so we can show more.
Yes, I will have more adventures to share in ASEAN in Focus. And always my pleasure to help you, Alma. And that is the latest news in the ASEAN region. Thank you for joining us today here in ASEAN in Focus. I'm Esther Odanga from EBC Thailand Bureau, and we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Esther. And we'll see you back tomorrow. Same time, same place. Here on ASEAN in Focus. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.
Napapansin ba ninyo lumiliwanag ang mundo pag magkasama tayo? Life